We're now recording.
Thanks. Okay, so this meeting is called to order. This is a meeting of the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council Planning and Land Use Committee. It is Wednesday, November 16th, 6:03 p.m. Secretary Sanchez, roll call, please.
All right, this is roll call for the Planning and Land Use Committee. Sarah Clendenning,
Present.
Benny Madera is not here. Fernanda Sanchez here. Melanie Bolomo Shiflet,
Here.
Nancy Stella Soto,
Here.
Richard Ortiz is not here. Vincent Chente Montalvo,
Present.
and Mr. Adams is not here.
Okay,
That's 5 out of 7. We do have quorum.
we have quorum. Thank you, Fernanda. All right, so I just want to let everybody know on our agenda, we have many links. We have links to supporting documents at the beginning, and that blue link has the files that were submitted by the applicants, and then we also have links with the case numbers on the items themselves. Okay, so we're going to move on to the second item, general public comment. So if there's anybody from the public who has a comment about something that's not on the agenda, you have 2 minutes to address the board and the community. Please raise your hand or press *9 to speak.
We have CT Williams.
Hi, Mr. Williams.
Good evening. Dr. Tom Williams from El Sereno, also president of the Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community. I'm doing an American Disabilities Act review and survey of downtown and El Sereno regarding curb cuts and access for people in wheelchairs and other disabled and many senior citizens. So I was just wanting to know if there was anyone in Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council that is interested in ADA compliance. If so, I can make a list of the non-compliant intersections also within Lincoln Heights. Since we're getting out of the house these days, I can check visually and via Google Earth for many intersections which do not comply with ADA compliance on wheelchairs, including Lincoln Park Avenue and Sierra Street. So if there's anyone interested, I'm available. Since you don't have a chat, my email is ctwilliams2012, one word, lowercase, @yahoo.com. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Let the record show Benny Madera logged in at 6:06. Next, we have Roy Payan.
Hi, Roy.
Zoom webinar.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for hosting this meeting. I just wanted to let you know that we did hear recently from KDL's office with regards to Paradise Hill, and they are encouraging us to speak with Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy to come up with something. But I want to more than that encourage members from Lincoln Heights to join us, since this property is in your jurisdiction, your territory. I think you should have the greatest input, the greatest say on this. So I'm inviting Sarah and anybody else from the Planning and Land Use Committee to please join us in our conversation, and let's move forward to try to check and see if we can acquire this property. Thank you.
Sarah, you are muted.
Yeah. So Roy, oh yeah. Thank you, Roy.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. Any other public comments? Please raise your hand or press *9. These are comments about items that are not on the agenda.
I do not see any other hands raised.
Okay, cool. So we're going to move on to item 3. We're just going to go straight on into the presentations. Are there any elected officials with any announcements on the horn? You could raise your hand or press *9. Anybody? No? Okay, so we're going to move on to the presentations. So we have 3 presentations tonight. So we're going to start with the first one. All right, so the first one is It's for grading, hillside grading. So the address is 2465 North Metzler Drive, 90031. And there are 2 addresses associated with that. The other address is 2501 North Forest Park Drive and 2503 North Forest Park Drive. Project description, 2465 North Metzler Drive. There's the case number ENV-2022-6550-EAF. Okay, grading, hillside, proposed on-site wastewater treatment system, OWTS, for new single-family residents. Advanced treatment tank capacity equals 2,000 gallons. Pit equals 6-foot diameter by 50 feet wide / 18-foot cap. And then it says 32-foot effective depth. And that's in conjunction. So there was an earlier zoning hearing for a new building, 1,490 square foot prefabricated steel hut on retaining wall with carport. Now, so this is for hillside grading, and this is the parcel is at the base of the Paradise Hill parcel. So we have the a representative here, I think, on the line, Kason Hall. And we have a visual presentation as well. So if we could, Kason, if you could raise your hands and we could bring you up to panelist.
All right, Kason, you've been promoted.
Hi, good afternoon or evening.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so I'm just gonna get right into it. So I'm gonna, can I share my screen? It
Yep, just one
says-
second.
Okay.
Go ahead and fix that. All right, you can go ahead and try now.
The agenda is available at, if you go to lhnc.carrg.co, or our website, lincolnheightsnc.org.
Kason, were you able to share your screen?
Yes, sorry, my internet was going in and out a little bit. Okay, can everyone see this? Can everyone see this and hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes,
hear you.
okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, so good evening, and thank you so much for hearing this case. My name is Kason Hall, and I'm with Kimberly Wedham and Associates, and I'm the applicant representative for the subject project. I'm also joined on the line with the architect and the applicant to help answer any questions at the end. So the proposed project is for a new single-family dwelling in the Lincoln Heights Hillside area. The subject request is for a zoning administrator determination for relief from improving the substandard hillside street to 20 feet to the boundary of the hillside area, and for relief from improving the substandard hillside street to 20 feet adjacent to the subject lot. I also just want to note that the plans are in the process of being slightly updated due to comments from the Northeast Hillside Ordinance planners. So the plans that are in the package that was sent a few weeks ago are slightly outdated, just with regards to height. It's lower now to comply with the ordinance. So I just wanted to note that, and we can recirculate those plans when they're ready, which should be next week. Okay, so moving on. The subject site is situated along Forest Park Drive, which is also known as METZLER Drive. The proposed entitlement, also to match with the street signs, which are characterized by hillside topography and unimproved to partially improved, developed with one or two.
Jason, 1 second. We're having technical difficulties with the the internet connection, I guess, on your end. It's Fernanda? Do you wanna, should we, the audio is just cutting out. Is anybody hearing the audio cut out?
I lost you for a second. I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it was a little distorted. Mel, was it distorted?
I couldn't
Yeah.
make out anything.
Oh, no.
Let's see. Well, I guess it would just be the internet, the Wi-Fi, right? We could,
She's still frozen.
Is that any better? I took out my AirPods.
okay, so, Kaysen's frozen. Oh, wait, no, there's Kaysen. Hey. Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Is
you
that
sound
any
better.
better? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
I think it's better. Yeah.
Okay.
The connection seems to be coming in and out.
Oh, okay. Well, oh, she's frozen again. Okay. Well, we could, we could go to the next applicant and then come back to Kaysen.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Okay, and then maybe see if it resolved a little bit.
Yeah, I'll figure out my Wi-Fi. So sorry.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. Okay,
All right.
we'll be right back to your.
Thank you.
And then, okay, so we're gonna move on to, we're just gonna skip ahead to the next item. So the next item, item number 2 is, so this is in CD 14. It's an application for grading, demolition, and new construction. There are many applications here. There are, so the main umbrella address is 3880 North Mission Road, 90031. That is the former Forever 21 site. There are 17 addresses associated with the city planning case file. So the city planning case file is ENV-2022-6550-EAF. Project description, 3880 North Mission Road. Grading in a special grading area. Standalone environmental assessment form for haul route for approximately 285,493 cubic yards of dirt in a special grading area in conjunction with the redevelopment of a warehouse, logistics, and light industry facility zoned M1-1. So yeah, former Forever 21 site. It's the triangle there above the 7-Eleven at Sea Lake Place that goes all the way up to Broadway, former site of the zoo, and the reservoir number 5. Water area historically. So applicant Janna Boelke and Jaden Robbins, Worthe Real Estate Group, Representative Josh Geyer, Burns, and Bouchard. We have images and stuff. So is Josh or Jonathan on the attendees side? Could you raise your hand and we could bring you up to panelists?
Jonathan Lawner, you've been promoted.
Okay, cool. All right, Jonathan. Hi, hey, so yeah,
Hi, can you hear me?
sure, yeah. Thank you for coming.
No, thank you for having me. Let me try and share my screen. Okay, I know you've got a lot on your agenda, so we tried to keep it brief, but any questions you have, please feel free to ask. As you identified, the main address that the site is using, particularly with planning and building and safety, is 3880 North Mission Road. It's the former Forever 21 site. It's this site right here, the triangular site, located between Mission and Soto. Let me see if I can actually. The site is going through renovation and modification. Right now, the existing site configuration is about 1.5 million square feet, split between 250,000 square feet of office and 1.2 million square feet of warehouse. The current owners, Worthe Real Estate Developers, is actually reducing the sites. They're taking about 250,000 square feet off of the site. And as part of that, they're filling in an existing subterranean parking garage that used to be used for that component of the site So we're going from about 1.5 million square feet of square footage to 1.26 million square feet of square footage. If you know the site, as you drive by, as you look at the site, all of these buildings are connected. And the applicant is removing those connections and adding some additional circulation, adding some better mobility on site for deliveries. And then as a part of that process, they need to landscape the parking lot in compliance with current codes and low impact development. They have to add back the photovoltaic systems and cogeneration that are on site. They have to comply with current seismic and building codes, as well as planning and zoning requirements for setbacks, transitional height, overall height, square footage, and the like. The application that we have with the planning department is a standalone EAF, an environmental assessment form for a haul route. The site is proposed to import approximately 285,000 cubic yards of fill. So that's dirt that's going to fill in the void where that subterranean parking lot is. It's approximately one level of subterranean parking that'll be filled in. The building permits for the site were submitted for a zoning review about 6 months ago, and they are working with a plan checker to review those. They will be submitting full building plans for the project later this year as we continue to coordinate with the planning department. Where we are with the planning department is because we're located in a special grading area, any haul route, whether it be importing or exporting of soil, requires approval by the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners. And whenever you have an approval of that sort, you need an environmental review. We submitted an environmental assessment form to planning so that they could determine what type of review it would be. Given the size of the site and the application, it is not categorically exempt. It is more likely a mitigated negative declaration. The department has not formally made that determination yet. They're still working through that. But in light of the likelihood that it will be an MND, we're coordinating with them so that we can do our required tribal outreach and have meeting with the local tribe, as well as fulfill any technical documents with regards to air quality, greenhouse gas, and the like that would be reviewed as part of this application. Once that application is complete, it gets published and circulated for approximately 30 days. During that time, there's an ability for the public to submit questions, comments, or concerns. And then between that time, between the end of that circulation and the haul route application, we, of course, will respond to those comments and then present in front of the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners about the formal haul routes, on-site staging, and the department will give us hours of hauling and different types of requirements, including flagmen and other safety precautions. So at a very high level, our application right now is just for the standalone environmental assessment form. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the planning submittal or anything that we're doing on site currently.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right. Do you have any other images of, so there, I have just a question with the presentation. Are there any images like of the proposed new structures or any other visuals of floor plans or anything?
I don't have, so the floor plans, it's pretty much a shell and core for this. They don't have any tenants. It's really going back and refurbishing and redeveloping the site so that they can bring it back to market. As you are probably more keenly aware than most, the Forever 21 site has sat there for a little time, and they're trying to bring it to a point where they believe that it can be a successful opportunity for a new tenant to come in. I do have some elevations. I didn't include them in this, but I'm happy to provide them. I know you have a quick turnaround from today until tomorrow, but I'm happy to add that to this presentation and go ahead and send it off to you so that you can see those elevations. They're relatively straightforward, but again, happy to do that.
Cool, thank you. And I just want to say, so what I'm reading in the press is that the property recently sold, correct? Is that correct?
To Worthe, correct, to the applicant.
Okay. I don't know if I should just open this up to questions from the board right now, but so basically it's a permit for a haul route and removal of 200 and how many thousand feet, 285,000, I guess. Let's see, 285,493 cubic yards of dirt in a special grading area.
Correct.
So that's what we're actually discussing here. And it's not really any new construction or demolition right now. Can you, Jonathan, describe special grading area? That this is a watery area, right? So it's like a sensitive place.
So the special grading area, there's two types of triggers in the city of Los Angeles for a haul route. Either you're in a hillside area designated by zoning, which a lot of the east side and frankly a lot of the city is, or you're in a special grading area that's been designated by BOE for some reason, whether it's liquefaction or silty soils or the like. Once you are within a special grading area, then there is a requirement from the Board of Building and Safety that you cannot just export or import soil. You have to apply for a haul route so that they can review the proposed route for both Bureau of Street Services impacts, for LADOT impacts, and then how you're treating the soil on site, how much you are either removing or in this case importing, where you are doing that on site, where the staging, where the trucks enter and leave, and then more often than not, where you're taking it. Here, we're not exporting soil, we're importing it to fill that subterranean garage area. So we will be moving clean dirt into this site to fill that subterranean garage section.
Oh, okay, so, all right. So maybe I'm misunderstood. I thought it was the removal of the dirt. So yeah, you're filling in the subterranean level.
Correct.
Okay, so you're bringing it in. Okay, all right. So we're going to open it up for questions, discussion. Vince, should we start with the community or with the board?
The community fine.
Okay, so we're going to open it up to the community. And if any community members wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand or press *9 to ask a question to Jonathan. We have 2 minutes to speak. Yeah. So just raise your hand.
All right, we have Dylan G. You have 2 minutes to comment.
Hello, thank you for hearing my comment. So I live just on the hill, just above this property. I look down on it from my household, and so it's going to be a direct impact. And one thing that I know about shipping warehouses such as this is that the main impact on the community is not the actual structure itself, but the trucks that come and go and the emissions that come from those trucks. So my question to you about this phase of shipping in hundreds of thousands of tons of dirt, and then the subsequent phase of like operating as a shipping facility, how many of those actual shipping trips, truck trips, will be zero emissions? And what sort of commitments will this site be making to using zero emissions shipping here and for the future? Is there any infrastructure being installed at the site to ensure that it will be a zero emissions shipping site, so that it'll have lower pollution impact on this community that is historically disproportionately impacted by air pollution?
Thank you for that, Dylan.
Yeah, Jonathan, you could answer if you just want to answer.
Oh, okay, perfect. I didn't
Yeah.
know whether you wanted me to wait
Yeah, just
after.
go.
So you're correct. We do an analysis for this phase of construction of the impact on those haul route trucks in the local area. We look at air quality emissions from the trucks, the amount of trips, as well as greenhouse gas implications. So for this particular phase of the project, those get studied as part of that mitigated negative declaration. That is still in process. So I unfortunately don't have a number for you associated with that, but I'm happy to follow up with you. And that document is a public document as soon as the planning department circulates it. With regard to the ultimate user of the site, we unfortunately don't have one yet. We don't have anyone lined up to lease the space. The shell and core construction on site really is to make it a place that is usable by a future tenant. As part of that, the state and the city require a substantial amount of EV charging. 30% of the parking stalls need to be charging ready, as well as 10% need to be installed with chargers prior to certificate of occupancy. That addresses the cars on site, but it doesn't address the trucking. I'm happy to follow up. I don't think we will have an actual answer on zero emissions trucking until we have a tenant for the site. But if I could coordinate either with you or with Sarah after the meeting to get your name and contact information, I'd be happy to continue to follow up with you and keep you in the loop on those type of discussions and next steps.
Yeah, thank you. I would love to follow up with you about that, because one thing that I do know about zero emissions trucking is it requires a lot of infrastructure planning. You got to make sure that there's enough power at the site to be able to charge those vehicles. And so that's something that happens at the early stage of planning the site before there might be a tenant. So to actually design the site as a zero emissions charging facility could help attract a tenant even.
That's great. Yes, the site is designed with individual customer stations. I don't know how familiar you are with DWP, but rather than just have a separate either pole mounted transformer or a pad mounted transformer, we have to build this vault with substantial infrastructure for those type of things. But I'm happy to look into that for you. It's actually a really great question.
Thank you. Next, we have Roy Payan.
Hi, Jonathan. I've got a couple of questions. The first is, a football field is 200,000 cubic yards. This is more than a football field. Wouldn't it be prudent to possibly wait until you have a tenant to say, maybe they can use those parking stalls, and that way we don't have to ship in so much dirt? Because I'm worried about the haul route and its impact on the community, because we've got several schools and parks in either, I mean, regardless of which haul route you use, we've got parks and schools on those routes, and those dust particulates will impact those children. Have you given that any consideration?
So we did, and when we were brought on to the project team to talk about both the future construction of this, we asked some very similar questions. We work with a lot of developers on haul routes, so we know the process of coordination with both the school district and Rec and Parks in terms of trying to make it safe. But I think you bring up a good point about why do it now. I think what the developer has found in doing an analysis of the site is that there are some areas that, given the original age of the construction, don't structurally allow for some of the trucks that are being used nowadays to actually get into some portions of that site. So it's not just a matter of taking an area of subterranean parking off because it's a one-to-one reduction based on the square footage we're removing. It's also to strengthen the structure so that some of the current trucks that are used for delivery of goods can make it onto this site, and that we are planning for that type of structural stability well into the future as truck dynamics change and those haul routes for goods and services, not for infill of site soil, start to change. So I do think it's something that the team has talked a lot about. I think that we got to a point where this particular area, and it's in building 3 specifically where we're removing the parking. It does need to be removed so that we can make sure that the structure of both the building and the site is such that it can accommodate the shipping needs of today and the future. But I think whatever assurances I can give you that we will continue to coordinate with both schools and rec and parks as required by the city. We need to make sure that we're doing it outside of, morning drop off and afternoon pickup hours, and that we're dealing with any particulates watering down the site, watering down the trucks, doing all of those things so that we don't have the dirt flying around and having potentially adverse effects on those areas. I think where we are benefiting from the scope of this construction is we're not actually digging out the site and then putting it into a truck and then covering the truck and then pulling it out. We are delivering the dirt to the site, we're dumping it in the hole, and then the truck is leaving. So in terms of staging and an ability to keep this site a little bit cleaner than what you typically see when there's both export and import, we're pretty confident on that. But again, I think that those are the similar concerns that we brought up when we joined the team. And in order to reinforce and structure the site so that it's a useful site now and into the future, that one parking area did need to be removed and filled in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. We have CT Williams next.
Good evening, Dr. Tom Williams. By the way, I've done around 500 EIRs, and this one really ranks to be a full EIR because, number one, where's the demolition going to go? You're going to demo the site, and that has to be hauled out. Then you're going to be bringing in over 250,000 cubic yards. That requires approximately 28,500 round trips of 10 cubic yard trucks. And there's a problem in that I think you may be restricted to Mission Road because you have not mentioned anything about the proposed LA City Soto Street widening and what that's going to do to the same haul routes, and or maybe you could use the material from the Soto Street widening to fill up your hole. But the first thing is, where's the demolition going to go? And that's a lot of demolition for all 3 buildings plus accessories. So I would highly recommend that the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council oppose any mitigated neg deck and or oppose this specific haul route submittal of 250,000 cubic yards round trip. That is 1 trip in with it, 1 trip out without it. Maybe the demolition debris could be put into the trucks on their way out and reduced by half the total issue. There's also going to be quite a few other things, and I don't know how you're going to do your low impact development because the area is an old floodbed and has groundwater in it, and God only knows what sort of contamination from the warehouse use, especially in warehouses with asbestos. So I say, if you continue, or if the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council does not oppose, then we may see you in court. We're already doing that over on Eastern. So 2 for the price of 1. So I'd highly recommend that the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council Planning and Land Use Committee tell the board to oppose this project as it is currently defined. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, next we have AJ.
Hello. Yeah, I yeah, man. All I can think about is Kanye when he said George Bush hates black people and developers don't like brown people or Lincoln Heights. And it's just I just am disgusted with I'm just disgusted every time that everything that's happening here. It's like, it's just appalling. And that's all. It's I hope that you, sir, that are here presenting, I hope that you think about this in your sleep at night. You know what I mean? It's disgusting. That's all.
Thank you. I do not see any other hands raised.
All right,
We'll
thank you, Fernanda. So I couldn't find my mute button. So now we're going to open it up for a board discussion. Board members, do you have any questions for Jonathan, or just want to make a statement or anything? Now's your time.
I'll just make a quick statement on it. Oh, Melanie, never mind. I should have raised my hand. Go ahead.
Oh, you can go first, Chente. All right, I'll go. All right, thank you for being here and for presenting this. I wanted to ask, and this is not something I have a ton of familiarity with, but I understand that you'll be filling in an existing underground parking structure in order to greater stabilize the building on top of it. I think building 3, and then make it more conducive for incoming deliveries. Is that kind of it in a nutshell?
Correct.
Okay. I guess where my mind is headed with this is, the shipping world is changing so quickly with the way that we ship, the way that we use trucks, whether it be less, what's that called? LTL, where you have a less than truckload items coming in, not necessarily on a semi or large truck, or even unmanned trucks making deliveries. So while I understand the purpose of it for the current state of shipping, with shipping changing so rapidly and trucking changing so rapidly, I want to know if that's being considered, because there may be some huge changes being made to accommodate the current climate of things, and that could be very different 5 years from now when you guys actually find a renter.
The only way I can answer it is that I know that the conversations that we were privy to did not talk about that. When they talked about the studies that they had done on site to figure out what needed to be done to this site, my assumption is that those types of conversations happened, and I'm more than happy to loop back with the developer and talk about those type of issues so that I can give you a better answer than that. It's kind of a hollow answer. I apologize. But I am happy to do some additional digging with them to see how this factors into the growth and changing in the shipping industry, and how this really figures into this site specifically.
Okay, thank you.
we have Vincent.
So Melanie basically brought everything I wanted to set out. So thank you, Melanie. You saved me some time. But some other parts too, where there's a lot of red flags on this. You're removing parking or subterranean parking, and the facility is still going to have people in it. Where will they park, right? That's another thing. Where will the new tenants park, or customers, or whatever this may become? those usually fall on our community members, surrounding community. You're very close to residential. Another part too is it's a full environmental impact study. Not only that, a traffic study. You don't have many inlets and outlets, and this type of development with that amount of people is going to bring a lot of heavy traffic in that area. And, you know, I wish they would do the old traffic study, not the VMT traffic study, which gave developers a loophole to use on emissions. And I think that's wrong. I would hope that there would be developers that would use the old standard system instead of the new one, given the fact that it's a loophole so people can get past with traffic. We know what emissions do to people. We're a high polluted area with emissions. So that's something that I look at this project, and I'm going to agree with Williams, and a recommendation for the board is to send a letter of not to approve it to the general board, or advise the general board not to vote on the project as is. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. I have a quick comment as well. I think the community brings up a lot of great points, and I do have to agree with them. In terms of air pollution, we definitely are one of the hardest hit communities. We have Eastside College Prep High School right across the street from this site. We have the park. This is a 2-lane Mission Road street, very traffic heavy. I see this as serious air pollution, noise pollution. The over 280,000 yards of fill is a massive amount. I don't know if any of that can be mitigated to something smaller. And like one of the public commenters stated, I would like to see more environmentally equitable and conscious parameters within this blueprint and within the infrastructure, because this is a very highly impacted community, especially the street where it's at. And yeah, thank you. I also see that we have one other hand up, Rob, from the community. Robert Vega, you have 2 minutes to comment.
Hi, Robert. Robert Vega. Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I was going to speak earlier on the issue, but my understanding, I'm a little confused here because, so my understanding is that they want to prepare this property for sale, and they want to remove the parking. I know we spoke a little on the parking, but being that parking is a big issue, and those that are who will be buying in, wouldn't it benefit them and the community that you keep that parking? Somebody had mentioned about the property being demolished, so that's where I was confused with the property being demolished, and then they would cover up the underground parking. So are they going to demolish the property and cover the underground parking, or are they going to keep the structure and just cover up the parking? So covering the parking is not a good thing if you're looking to sell. I think it should be kept for the people that come in, the tenants, like they were saying, who is going to buy the property and what are they going to use it for? Now, if you take away the parking, it becomes, an issue with those that live around there. I know that when 21 was there, they were parking their vehicles on the other side of Lincoln. And, that wasn't good for the neighbors, that their parking was taken away by the people that worked at 21. So that's my issue with that, is that if they're selling, just leave it the way it is and reinforce, I guess, the parking if the building is too heavy or too old. That's my 2 cents. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Robert.
I guess I have an image. I just wanted to know if I could share my screen, Fernanda. I don't know how to do it.
Here, I'll stop sharing.
Oh, I guess I just pressed share screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna share an image here. So I'm sharing an image right now. I wonder if I can share multiple screens. Yes, I can. Hold shift and, okay. Oh. So, what I have here. Okay, so that's what it looks like to you, right? Okay, can you see? So I have, okay, I'm gonna move these side by side. So this is a black and white aerial photo. I believe it's from, let's see, General Hospital is being built right there. I think it's from 1930. So that is the site. And so this site, the triangle site, I don't know if you can see my little mouse here. I'm gonna zoom in on this. So this site that we're looking at, this was the Selig Zoo, the Lincoln Park Zoo, later the Lincoln Park Zoo. And then up here was Selig Polyscope, and this was their jungle that they planted for Tarzan and for filming. And then farther up, this was it was called Schertzen Park. So this was city land, but this is the water historically it's always flowed down here. There are two streams. One stream went to Lincoln Park. Well, there was a reservoir here called Reservoir Number 5. Historically, that provided water in early Los Angeles. So, but anyway, the two water tributaries that used to flow through here ran to an underground sewer. So there's a sewer line running under this now. It's always been historically swampy, but also it has a rich history, and I mean, it's probably alluvial flood plain and liquefaction and all that stuff. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk about, I mean, if there's any future use of this property, I mean, it's always been strange to me. This was city land for a long time, and then it was developed into this industrial block, right? And it just stands out. I feel like where it's located, there has to be a sensitivity to the role. This is like one of the most significant areas in besides the LA River. This is a water area, went down to hazard. And yeah, so just want to bring that up. I don't know what the future of what they're going to do with this property, if they're going to try to rezone it for residential or something, but if there's any way to like preserve any sort of green space or any sort of water stuff, that would be good. Because that's all I have to say on that one. But yeah, so that's it. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and we're gonna move on now. If there's no more board member discussion, stop share. Okay, so the next item that we have is it's just a motion action or motion discussion and possible action on, I guess it would be like a sort of recommendation on the EAF application. Vince, like if we voted opposing an environment, can we make recommendations to the environmental thing or what? Like if we just oppose it, it's, you know, this isn't like a zoning thing, right? There's an application for a haul route. What, how do we go about this? Vince? All right, Vince isn't here. Okay.
Yeah, he's no longer in the meeting.
All right, so standalone EAF, I guess, yeah, so I'm just gonna read the item. I'm gonna make discussion possible action on 3880 North Mission Road, case number ENV-2022-6550 EAF grading, special grading area, standalone EAF for haul route for approximately 285,493 cubic yards of dirt in a special grading area in conjunction with the redevelopment of a warehouse, logistics, and light industry facility zoned M11. Do I have a second? I guess I'm moving.
I'll second.
Wait, but yeah, point of information, what's the motion?
Well, we're voting whether to oppose the EAF or you know, agree with the EAF.
because what I heard from Vincent before he got locked out was that he agreed with Dr. Williams in that he opposes the project as is. So I actually agree with that. So should that be the motion? Like,
I second that,
or
Benny.
did you want to make it, Sarah, or I can make it if
If you want to make an amendment,
well, wouldn't the motion be to oppose? I move to.
oh, yeah,
oppose
yeah, sorry,
the
sorry, I'm not saying opposer, yeah, so, I guess, okay, yeah. Well, we're not. It's just like sort of a recommendation to the general board, so, yeah, oppose.
Right.
Okay. I guess I'll say, geez, I did word it weird, okay, so, to oppose 3880 North Mission Road, case number ENV, yeah, that will be the motion.
Okay.
I mean, no, I mean, it's basically we're figuring out if we want to oppose it or approve it. Oh my God, I don't know.
Right. So if we move the motion to oppose, a yes vote would be to oppose and a no vote would be to approve it. Or not oppose.
Yeah, can I just step in real fast?
Who's, oh yeah,
This is
Vincent,
Vince. Yeah, I just got back on. Sorry about that because I'm losing
yeah,
connection because I'm on the road.
Vincent,
So the,
I had a question about this because it's an environmental assessment form, opposing an environmental assessment form. Is there a way we can it's just approve or oppose, or do we wait? Like, what's the use in
well, on this particular issue as written, we would advise the general board that we would ask for them to oppose it as written. I do know that the applicant said that they were still working on with the planning team on it to get some final things done to it, and maybe some of the things they can change. They can always bring it back. They don't have a date, but for right now, as written, I feel that it's in the community's best interest, or in our interest representing them, that we would vote to oppose it as written currently, unless otherwise, and then it can come before the board again. But as written now and presented, it doesn't look like the public would have a great benefit from it, and it might even harm the public.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at all the attached other, they're basically LAGBS application permit numbers and plan check numbers, and it's for demolition and all that, and those don't have city planning numbers. There's just so many things going on. This is a huge thing going on. Okay, so we're just gonna move forward now with the environmental. Okay, so I'll move, should I just move to, I'll move to oppose the EAF, the case number ENV-2022-6550 EAF, right? Not right, but is that the right wording?
Yeah, it's a motion to oppose as written.
Okay.
And advise the general board to oppose the project as written. That's basically all it is.
Okay, so that's the motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right, I guess board member discussion. Any board members want to weigh in on this? This would just be the recommendation of the general board. No? Any members from the community want to weigh in on this? You have 2 minutes to speak. Please raise your hand or press *9.
We have 2 hands raised. CT Williams.
Good evening again, Dr. Tom Williams. The EAF usually does not have a specific requirement for approval or denial. However, you can oppose the project as defined right now, and that you would support the EAF decision for a full environmental impact report. And you would oppose any EAF finding for a mitigated negative declaration. Because there's just so many other aspects. You got to tear it down, fill it in, and then build it back. And that's a lot of truck traffic, especially when you consider that Soto is going to be under construction within the next 2 years for the widening of Soto. So there's going to be a truck route there. You need a lot of truck routes for demolition material and for the hauling in of fill material. So oppose the project as currently defined in the EAF and recommend that a full environmental impact report be prepared as part of the findings of the EAF. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you. Next, we have AJ.
Yeah, it's just a little strange to be filling in all of this parking structure, right? All I can think of is TOCs. That's all I can think of, and it seems like, oh, like we don't know what's happening. You know, we're just gonna fill in a parking lot underground, and like we don't know who we're even trying to accommodate with, like who we're gonna rent this property to. Sounds like a whole crock of shit to me, and it sounds like there could be a TOC going in, and everybody wants to be hush hush until they shove it down the community's throat, and then they can't do anything about it. And again, like, I hope you sleep well at night, bro. Like, this is just, I don't know. It's just disgusting. That's all. Thank you and good night. Yeah.
Thank you, AJ. I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay.
Fernanda, before we take the vote, I just want to add in what CT Williams added in, is that we ask for a full environmental impact report on it. If there's no opposition on the board, it would just be a simple, just anybody opposed, even if nobody opposes, it's amended, and then we can still continue on.
Okay, are we adding that as a second motion, as a second vote, or is that with the first motion?
It's with the first motion. It's just an amendment to request that we get a full environmental impact report.
Great. So we're moving it on to a vote. The motion presented is to oppose the project as it is currently written and to request a full environmental report. A yes vote would be to oppose the project as written and request an environmental report. A no vote would be to not oppose the project and not request an environmental report. All right, Sarah?
Yes.
Benny?
Yeah, I'm yes to the amendment and yes to the motion. I mean, I'm a little confused. Are we voting on the amendment right now?
I believe the amendment is with the first motion.
But I think we have to vote on that amendment first. And Chente was recommending that we do it like
Unanimously, I hear you.
unanimously.
All right, so we are amending the first motion to add a request of a full environmental report. Are there any oppositions?
I'll second the motion for the amendment, just in case we needed a second for that. Sorry.
Got it. Thank you. Are there any oppositions? I don't see any hands raised. Right, so the motion has been amended to include a full environmental report. Now we're going to take it for a vote. Sarah?
Yes.
Benny?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes,
Melanie?
sorry.
Nancy?
Yes.
Fernanda, yes. Chente?
Yes.
Richard is not here. Mr. Adams is not here. That's 5 unanimous yeses, motion carries.
Okay,
Thank
motion-
you, Jonathan, for your presentation. If there are any revisions, we encourage you to come back to the neighborhood council. Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you, John. All right, so we're gonna move back here to the first item. Is the applicant here, Kaysen? Please raise your hand, Kaysen, so we can elevate you to panelist if your internet was working again.
Kason, you've been promoted.
Okay, let's see if this works again. So I'm just gonna recap. This is for 2465 North Metzler Drive. We're skipping back to the first item. Bottom in Paradise Hill. The two other addresses, 2501 North Forest Park, 2503 North Forest Park. This is for hillside grading, proposed on-site wastewater treatment system, OWTS, for single family residents. And in conjunction with the new 1,490 square foot prefabricated steel hut on retaining wall with carport.
Yes, hi, and I'm back. I'm on hotspot, so hopefully it holds with me the whole time. So I will get right back to the presentation, and I'll just start from the top, just because I'm not sure where I cut off. So if everyone can see my screen. So this project is for a request for a zoning administrator determination for relief from improving a substandard hillside street to 20 feet to the boundary of the hillside area, and for relief from improving the substandard hillside street to 20 feet adjacent to the subject lot. And I just wanted to note that there have been some minor updates to the plans to comply with the Northeast Hillside Ordinance in the last few weeks. We've made these updates, so the plans are being updated by next week. So some of the site plan and renderings in this presentation might not match what was previously in the set sent to you guys. So I just wanted to flag that, and we can redistribute those plans when they're ready. Okay, so the subject site is situated along Forest Park Drive, also known as Metzler Drive. The proposed project uses the Forest Park address as previously conditioned for in a past entitlement, and that also matches the street signs which state Forest Park. The surrounding properties are characterized by steep hillside topography and unimproved to partially improved streets. They're either vacant or developed with 1 or 2-story single-family residential dwellings. The northwest corner of the subject property abuts a designated open space. So the proposed house is a little over 1,000 square feet and consists of a modified prefabricated steel structure. It is 15 feet above grade at its highest point. The house consists of a communal living and dining area, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a carport. The design is intended to provide the most efficient living accommodations for the applicant and his daughter, and to connect the interior as much as possible with the outdoors. In response to the environmental issues confronted when designing in the Hillside District, the house is of non-combustible construction, employing a steel roof and an internal fire prevention sprinkler system. The house is intentional in its modesty. It is of the smallest possible size, rugged in its material and detailing, and intended to blend well with the sometimes harsh environment. Additionally, the proposed design has been thoroughly vetted with Department of City Planning, Northeast Hillside Ordinance planners over the last year for compliance with that overlay zone. So the property is located on a hill sloping upward in the western direction from Forest Park Drive. There are presently several small shrubs, 2 trees, and light vegetation on the property. There are no tree removals associated with this request. And an existing fire hydrant installed in 2001 is located directly north of the property on the west side of Forest Park Drive. And a fire hose is affixed to a concrete wall located at 2507 Forest Park to the north, as you can see here in this photo. The project proposes improved paved roadway, a paved drive aisle, and retaining walls adjacent to Forest Park Drive for improved road stability. And since the road is existing non-conforming, within 300 feet of a fire hydrant and within 150 feet access from public right-of-way to the proposed dwelling, the project does not propose an LAFD standard turnaround per instruction by Inspector Duff on November 20th, 2020. So just a bit about the site history. There was a previous entitlement, which I mentioned earlier, for this same ZAD request, and it was approved in 2008. though the applicant never returned to effectuate the case, and so the approval expired, thus this current request. In conjunction with that previous case, the property owner processed the dedication of a portion of Forest Park to the city, and that process was initiated in 2013 and finalized on May 4th, 2020, as you can see here. Moving on, enclosed in the package delivered to the council, there are 2 letters of support from neighbors located at 2449 METZLER and 2445 METZLER. You can see their location just past Forest Park here in this map. The neighbors will be informed of building schedules, be provided a phone number to contact with any concerns, and construction staging and employee parking can be provided on non-hillside streets to the satisfaction of the zoning administrator. The strong neighborhood support and applicant sensitivity to their surrounding community can help mitigate and alleviate any related concerns. And with regards to the subject request, increasing the roadway width to the boundary of the hillside area would cause a loss of existing natural features, trees, fences, and other improvements, and prove difficult due to the extreme grade changes to the east and west of the road. These improvements would prove unbeneficial as there are only 3 additional single-family homes that share this terminus of Forest Park Drive, while there are nearly 30 single-family homes along Forest Park and Commodore Street that would be impacted by street widening. Additionally, increasing the road width adjacent to the subject lot is also impractical. Civil engineering has shown that there would be significant grading, retaining walls, and other costly improvements required to complete this, which is also not proportional to the proposed project. And in conclusion, the applicant has proposed an appropriately designed and scaled single-family home on the subject lot. The code required improvements to the public right-of-way are out of proportion with the proposed project and would require considerable grading, disturbance to natural features and current residents, as well as be very costly. Despite this, the applicant has proposed various right-of-way improvements, such as new paving, grading, and stabilization, which will positively affect the surrounding neighborhood. The applicant has also obtained considerable support from neighboring owners. And with this, we hope that the council will support the applicant's request for relief from the road widening requirements. And we appreciate your time this evening, and now we are open to any questions or comments.
Thank you, Kaysen. All right, so we're going to open it up to any public. Well, we're going to open it to the public. So if there's anybody from the public who wishes to ask Kaysen a question or to make a statement about this application, please raise your hand or press *9. You have 2 minutes to speak.
All right, we have AJ.
Yeah, I actually really appreciate you know, the how they considered the design, and it's not like super massive, it's not a mini mansion that we've seen a lot of going up in the area. However, I just, you know, with the, you know, with you asking to like not wanting to widen the streets, it's just I feel that that is not very conducive for everybody's safety, and that's all. Anyways, you know, not a totally horrible project. I mean, one concern is that, you know, when you see more people building on the hills, then it's like, you know, more people can do it. But I think that the design has integrity, which I appreciate. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
We have Roy Payan.
You know, first of all, I do want to commend you on your application and all the considerations with regards to both the structure and what you're doing. But I agree with the previous spokesperson that the widening of the street is a concern to me, because we live in a high-risk fire severity zone. And because of that, when you choose not to widen the street, all it takes is for one vehicle to be parked there, for a fire truck to be able to not to be able to go up the street to fight a fire. And especially in a high-risk fire severity zone, it would be endangering the families beyond that point and the families and that structure itself. So I think that they should really reconsider this part. I don't know how wide or how much more they have to add to widen the street, but it's for everybody's safety. That's why those rules were written into the hillside ordinance, for everybody's safety.
Okay. All right.
We have CT Williams.
Hi, Dr. Tom Williams again, 35-year resident in El Sereno on a hilltop. So I know his problems. The problem is nobody wants to pay for the roads, sewers, and storm drains. So I say this is a problem for any of the hillside residents, and they are trying to get around it by a huge septic tank. And the septic tank is for the treating, and the pit is for the dispersion of the treated sewage. The problem becomes, where does the water go when it's on the top of the hill? It goes down and can destabilize large areas of soft rock down below. So I would highly recommend that you oppose this project as currently developed, require a full 20-foot wide development of the public right-of-way, and get a sign off from the Bureau of Street Services, BOE, that is Bureau of Engineering, and the Bureau of Sanitation, because somebody needs to put a sewer line in. And that's going to cost money for everybody. But we tried to do it on Elephant Hill and the developer gave up. So I'm quite concerned regarding destabilization of the hill slope due to the recharge or the charging of the soil with sewage effluent from the septic tank. So if it goes, there's going to be a big mess, and 3 houses or more could be isolated with a very large concrete bill. There's also a matter as to, is there a haul route to get 10 cubic yard trucks up there to cut the fill out and transport it down? Hey, that's going to go through El Sereno and Rose Hill. So we're quite concerned about that. There's also a matter as to getting the stuff up there. And there's going to be a lot of concrete, but there's no information regarding either the volume of cut, and if it's more than 1,000 cubic yards, then you have to have a permit from the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners. So I'd highly recommend that you ask the Neighborhood Council Board to oppose this project. That's all.
And can I just make one comment about the haul route? Thank you so much for your input. That's really valuable. I also just wanted to note that right now we're under the city standard for triggering the haul route, as well as under the standards for the Northeast Hillside Ordinance for grading, which are more restrictive. So we fall under that for the grading. So right now there's no haul route a part of this case.
Thank you. We have Dylan G.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. As a close by neighbor of this proposed development, I would like to point out to my fellow conservation minded and green space conscious folks who are protective of Paradise Hill that mandating a 20-foot road widening on this particular section of METZLER would require a significant amount of excavation and grading that would actually carve away some of our precious hillside. And so although I share concerns with Dr. Williams about runoff, about sewage, about just general increase in traffic and usage of hillside roads, I don't think it's a good idea for that road to be widened, because what it would mean is you are getting excavators up there to carve away the hill. And as we know, our hillsides are really precious here in Northeast LA. So I think that should be a consideration before the board recommends widening the road as a mandate for this development. That widening the road is actually quite destructive to things that we value, like green space and Paradise Hill itself.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dylan. I also I wanted to echo that and add on that the portion of the request for the widening to the boundary of the hillside area actually goes to the bottom of Commodore Street too. So the requirement for widening, I mean, there's many, as I said, almost 30 homes to the boundary of the hillside area. So in addition to the negative environmental impacts, it would have significant impacts on all of those homes and residents. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up as well.
Thank you. We have, I'm very sorry, I cannot read the name off of this, but I will unmute you.
Hi, thank you so much for that presentation. As someone who grew up on a house located in Elephant Hills, I often see a lot of these types of projects sort of eat away at our green spaces. And growing up in East LA, I've known that these green spaces are little oases for our community. And I just want to express that I feel preserving these green spaces and providing less consequences for our communities with these types of unnecessary projects is really crucial. And I don't think that this project is very significant. And I just want to echo in the idea of preserving our green spaces. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we have Roy Payan.
I already spoke.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands raised. We will take it to board.
Any board members?
Please raise your hand.
I'll just raise my hand. I'm raising it. Okay, Kason, I have a question. So yeah, this the permit for the hillside grading, right? So so there's no infrastructure on the hill for the sewer. So this is an application to dig a hole to grade to put the sewer in.
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
On-site wastewater treatment system. Now I just want to repeat the dimensions here, and I have the plot or the plan map drawing thing. So the actual parcel itself, so there's two, and okay, so were you saying the one above it was surrendered, like kind of given to the city or something?
Yeah, so effectively there was a dedication to the city. So there's still kind of technically a sliver at the bottom, I guess the east, but this project is entirely contained on that western portion, kind of up the hill from Forest Park.
And we have two little roads that go through there, like Forest Park, the easement, like it stops, and then METZLER goes up through the property. Now, if there was a street widening, would they end up like widening Forest Park so then it just goes straight down to METZLER? Or there's a lot of wiggle room in there.
Yeah.
I'm just
so yeah, so it's kind of confusing. So the METZLER, are you looking at ZMIS right now?
I'm looking at the radius map for the application for the ZAD 2021.
Yeah, so it's just slightly confusing because that portion of METZLER that you see that's kind of zigzagging going down to North Broadway is actually a paper street. It doesn't exist. So it's really the only access is from the north along, METZLER/Forest Park to the north, and then it kind of loops around to serve these three homes at the bottom. So the only access is through the north. That access the METZLER coming up off Broadway doesn't actually exist. Yeah, so it's a little confusing. So the widening would be going from the property to the north along Forest Park up to where it kind of it intersects at a T with Commodore and then down to Commodore to Mission.
So
Yeah.
since it sort of ends there, would it need a hammerhead as well for turnaround for fire trucks?
Well, so we addressed that with LAFD with Inspector Duff. So in the previous case, there was a turnaround, a city standard hammerhead, but in discussion with the civil engineer and Inspector Duff, basically it came out to, I'm not sure how that hammerhead was proposed before, but the grading and the slope of the hammerhead, just due to site conditions, would come out to be about 20%, and LAFD doesn't allow hammerheads any more than 3% for that kind of vertical slope on that hammerhead. So basically the civil, and I'm no civil engineer, but from what the civil engineer told me, it was going to be pretty impossible to put that city standard hammerhead, but we still are proposing the flattening of grade and paving to kind of act as that hammerhead or turnaround, I guess.
And then there's a retaining wall as well that abuts the roadway, correct?
Yeah, correct. So that retaining wall is kind of coming off of where the hydrant is, just to the north, to just kind of stabilize the slope where the house is going to sit, to make sure nothing slides down onto the street.
Okay, and I just want to say one more thing. So like when I look at the plot plan or the project plans, right? So on the upper left segment, that's, let's see, grading the house. Okay, so wait a minute. Anyway, the parcel, it's a landslide zone. The top parcel that was sort of negotiated away with the city, and the one under it, like the upper right-hand side, it's indicated as landslide zone. And so like it seems that the grading part is like right there, and it sort of yeah, the landslide zone and the hammerhead and stuff. I'm just the grading details for this sewer, I just want to make sure I have it correct. So it says 2,000 gallons, it's hillside grading for a 2,000 gallon sewer tank. Pit equals 6 foot diameter by 50 feet wide, or 50 feet. Can you clarify these dimensions here? And it says feet by 50 by 18 by 32.
Yeah, so we actually have the septic system has already been approved. It's been plan check approved in the spring. So per that approval, and that permit it's kind of pending the full building permit, which has been, we've been going through with planning for about a year with the Northeast Hillside Ordinance Planner. So that plan check for the septic has been approved, but not pulled yet. But anyways, and I could give you that permit number as well. But so yeah, let me just look at it real quick. So the pit is 6 feet with a 50. So it looks like the pit is 6 by 50 with an 18-foot cap. Yeah, 32-foot depth. So I didn't do the design or the permitting of the septic system, so specifics I would have to get back to you on. But I could send you this permit number as well. It might be a little bit more clear than what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And yeah, okay. And with the grading, would that be used as infill then, or it would be exported?
I could get you the grading. There's a kind of a combination of cut and fill, and then a portion of the cut would be used on site. But like I said, we're well under the export amount. If I remember correctly, we're even under 100 cubic yards. So yeah, it's not very much export at all. Most of the cut will be used on site.
Okay, yeah, because it's like with the hillsides, we have mudslides and stuff like that.
Right.
And then, yeah, and then this is a downslipping site. Okay. All right, so yeah. Any more board member questions for Kason?
Thank you. We have Melanie.
Hi, Kason. Thanks for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, the sentiments from the caller AJ earlier like resonated with me as far as like the thought and the look of the structure. However, like what I think Dr. Williams and Roy Payan brought up about just safety and accessibility need to be of main concern, and not just for these residents that will be moving in, but for the current residents that are there, even if they're in support of this, and also just the inhabitants of that hillside. Paradise Hill is so precious. And, you know, I know we had another caller mention that like widening the street would cause its own sort of damage to the hillside. And so that just kind of leaves me with, maybe this is just not an ideal project in general. You know, if you can't provide safety, but you also don't want to have a large environmental impact, you know, where does that leave us? And then like, let's just say there is a fire and there is not access. It's not, I mean, there are not only homes, but like, again, this like precious resource of our community that is Paradise Hill, that is put at risk. So it just makes me feel like this just is an untenable, no, sweetie, it's just not a good project. If we can't, if it sounds like it's like an impasse, that's where that leaves me. So those are my thoughts. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Melanie. I also have a comment. Thank you, Kason, for your presentation. I do not support the development of our hills. There has been a lot of movement to preserve our green spaces here in Lincoln Heights, and I think those efforts definitely need to be represented in this meeting. This project would have a massive impact onto our hills with excavation and construction. Houses that have already been built on our hills are eroding because of how unstable our hills are. They aren't meant to carry houses, not to mention the economic and sociological effects this will trigger by setting a precedence on the kinds of homes and residents that will take over that hill, and not to mention skyrocketing the property value that does not reflect the median income of this community. This will absolutely contribute to gentrification, and I think it's important that we advocate and stand up for our disenfranchised community. People are always very obsessed with building on our hills because of the views, but do we ever take a step back to consider the environmental and sociological ethics that go into this, the responsibility that we have to not encroach on our very limited green spaces here in Los Angeles? So I think that the public brought up great points, and I think it's important to really think about the environmental, sociological effects that this will have on the community. It's really important to focus on where is this being built in Lincoln Heights. And that's the community we're representing. And I don't think that this is very reflective of the community that we are living in. Thank you. With that, I do see two more hands up in the attendee side. We have Roy Payan. You have 2 minutes to comment.
Thank you, but I already commented.
All right. We have AJ.
Yeah, I know that, I mean, it might totally be something I can't ask and irrelevant, but I mean, I just am wondering where the people are moving from. Like, can I have a response to that? I mean, not like, you know.
Yeah, no, I can answer that. The applicant has owned this property for about 15 years. And as I mentioned, there was a previous effort to entitle and build the project, and that didn't go forward for, you know, unforeseen circumstances. But the applicant does live in LA, you know, on the east side of LA, not specifically technically in Lincoln Heights, but nearby. Yeah, and they've owned this property for a number of years.
I mean, I get like, yeah, you own a piece of property. It's just, you know, people that are on the neighborhood council, and there's people in the community that just love the community, and it's just so when you see people that come in, I don't understand developments that like to mirror what Fernanda said. You know, it's not something that benefits the community, and And if you really care about if you want to live somewhere, you should care about the community that you live in, unless you're trying to exploit it and take advantage. You get what I'm saying? And that's what is like disheartening, is that and that's really all. Like, if you want to be part of a community, then you make the community better and you love the community. Otherwise, you're just there to like rip them off and fuck them over, kind of. And like I said before, you know, in comparison to other projects that have been proposed that we've seen on the hillsides, I appreciate that it's not a crazy extravagant mini mansion that's shoving down the throats of everybody else, the onlookers down the hill, like you know, somebody up the hill with their big huge house. And I do appreciate that, but it's just I don't understand how anybody that wants to be involved in a community that they care about, that they would, you know, anyways, want to
yeah, no, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, that's all.
Yeah, no, I totally respect and completely agree. Yeah, I just want to echo or, you know, reiterate that the applicant has, owned this property for about 15 years and loves Lincoln Heights and has been trying to live here for, you know, those last 15 years, and due to unforeseen circumstances, it hasn't been able to happen. I mean, as you can see, this is a really difficult site to develop. And so it's just been an uphill battle to be able to, you know, construct and move forward with this project. And it's taken, you know, those number of years. I also just want to reiterate to the board that there's a few letters of support, just kind of reflecting that the applicant is, you know, a good neighbor, has goodwill for the community, has, you know, helped the community out. Two of the letters are from neighbors that are to the at the end of the terminus, so farther past. And you know, the letters reflect that the applicant has. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, sorry, I just got like very eager because I'm like, but what are their interests? You know, what are the neighbors' interests? Is it that their property value is going to go up? Is it that like somebody else is going to foot the bill for a larger widening?
For time's sake, I'm going to have to step in because
I'm sorry.
AJ,
Okay.
you already commented one.
Okay. Sorry.
Usually you can only comment once.
Thank you.
So we're going to have to move on this. Are there any more public comments who haven't spoken yet? Please raise your hand or press *9 if you want to make a comment on this item right now.
Yeah, Robert Vega.
Robert?
Yes, I know exactly what you guys are speaking on this project. I grew up there on Commodore, where Commodore and Forest come together. It's a T-shape. It's a one-lane road, either way, left or right on Forest. I've seen when you talk about safety, when you have cars going up and there's a car coming down, the car going up would have to back all the way back up till they come to Commodore to let the car go by. So when you talk about the fire department having a problem going up there, yes, they will. It is a dirt road and it's a single lane. Widening the street, you couldn't do it because of the hillside. So yeah, I think it's odd that they would want to build a home in such a dangerous area for living, especially moving your vehicles around there. That's my point. Thank you.
Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Right, I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay, so
do we want to
move on to the next item? We'll just move on to a discussion of possible action or so yeah, I don't know. Vince, can you help me on this here? Are you here, Vince? Okay, so just the
I'll just make this comment on it so we can close it and make a decision, but it's hard because this situation's it takes in the environment, which we all love and we want to preserve, and the safety of the people. And that's where it's gonna leave us in between those two. In a lot of ways, there is no right or wrong decision or position that we take on it, because you're either gonna protect the health, safety, and welfare of the people, or you're gonna protect the environment that they love. So for me, I've always looked at health, safety, and welfare as an important part of planning, because I always think of my own family. If my mom was on that hill and she needed medical service and the street wasn't widened, would the hill be so important to me now? And it's a hard thing, because I think to myself, yeah, I love the environment. I've been a fighter for years, but where do we stand on this? So for me, I would like to make a motion, and whether it succeeds or it doesn't, I just think there's not a right or a wrong vote on this. We're just going to either stand on the goal of preserving the health, safety, and welfare of the people, or preserving environment. So I'll make the motion to to approve the widening of the street in the name of public safety. And then if there's a second on that, we can move forward. Thank you.
Okay, motion on the table. Vince's motion, widening of the street. Do we have a second on that?
Going once. Going twice. There is no second. Motion will not proceed.
Okay. Does anybody want to move on this? You want to move? Okay, I a motion to oppose as currently defined, as is 246. So drive.
Is there a second?
Yeah, yeah, I'll second it.
All right, Benny seconds for discussion, and then we move on to a vote.
Okay. Any board members want to discuss?
I see no hands raised. I'll go ahead and move this to a vote.
Our community members, anybody from the community want to comment again? It's the second item here. 2 minutes to speak. Please raise your hand or press *9. About our motion.
I don't see any other hands raised. I'll go ahead and proceed with a vote. Motion on the table is to oppose the project as is. Sarah?
Yes.
Benny?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Chente?
Yes.
Fernanda, yes. Richard is not here. Mr. Adams is not here. This is unanimous. Motion carries.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Kason.
Thank you so much for your time.
And yeah, so tomorrow the board will actually vote on it too. So
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you so much, Kason.
All right, have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.
Right. So now we're going to move on to the third item. Here we go. Item 3, new construction, 216 South Avenue 24, 90031. It's this city parking lots behind the Bank of America on North Broadway. There are 2 other addresses, 220 South Avenue 24 and 224 South Avenue 24. Project description, 216 South Avenue 24, building new. Construction, use, and maintenance of a 74-foot height, 6-story apartment building with 48 units, 100% reserved for affordable households. The project provides 50 parking spaces and approximately 6,075 square feet of open space. Applicant, Mary Jane Waggle with Works. And yeah, and we have the representative on the line. We have Mary Jane and Marky from 360. Could we bring Marky and Mary Jane up as panelists here?
They've both been promoted.
You see Dana on there? Dana couldn't make it. Okay, so on this agenda, we have the images and photographs just from the city planning, but the applicants have prepared a presentation for the community, which we're going to see now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting us to your meeting. Marky, who is representing our entitlement consultant, will share her screen. But the Works team includes me, Mary Jane Wagle, our community outreach person, Elizabeth Medrano, and our development leader, Yoko Sugioka. So our development partners for this project is GTM Holdings, who are not here today, but we worked with them previously. They're primarily responsible for construction completion, but we at Works will be the long-term owner and manager of the property. The project, you want to go to the next slide, Margie? The project has been a long time in the making. We started with a proposal to the city in 2016 and have been working with the city since that time to make quality affordable housing happen. We're delighted to present this project to you this evening and hope you will support it enthusiastically as a much needed enhancement to the community, helping to keep the community hospitable to families and individuals of modest means, as it has been historically, in the face of the gentrification that is currently happening everywhere. A little about Works. Works is a nonprofit affordable housing group with the mission of developing quality affordable housing and enriched services to support the aspirations of the residents we serve. We respect the cultures and beliefs of our residents and the communities that surround them and aim to promote a sense of shared community. Next slide, Markie. We were formed in 1998 by a group of women experienced in the affordable housing arena with a shared commitment to building housing that could be sustained over the long term to support low-income families and supported by services that would help residents move forward on their life paths. We've served over 4,000 people over the past 2 decades, developing more than 1,500 units, including both affordable multifamily housing for the general public, as well as permanent supportive housing for special needs households and formerly unhoused individuals. All of our units are affordable to households and families at or below 60% of median income, including many at or below 30% of median income. Most of our residents do not rely on public assistance. Next slide. Today, we're talking about our first proposed development on city-owned land in Lincoln Heights. We've had a long history in the Lincoln Heights community. We developed 2 properties near the Gold Line station in 2005 and 2006, Camino al Oro on Avenue 26, a senior development, and Flores del Valle on Avenue 23, a family development. We've been involved in several proposals to benefit the Lincoln Heights community over the past several years. We didn't get all of them, but we really tried to push for what would matter to the Lincoln Heights community. Our focus on this property began in 2016 with a proposal to the city to develop city-owned parking lots in Lincoln Heights with affordable housing. After being awarded the exclusive right to negotiate by the city, we conducted extensive community outreach over 2 years, from 2018 to 2020, and learned, among other things, that affordable housing for family and seniors is highly desired, that parking is an issue, especially for local business, that design in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood, Spanish or craftsman style, is preferred, and that pollution and environmental quality matters to the community. We believe this project responds to all of those issues. Next slide. We are proposing an affordable housing apartment building on the city-owned and operated parking lot at 216 South Avenue 24. You can see here that this lot is just south of the alley next to Bank of America, the Bank of America building, with the Bank of America parking lot just to the south of the lot we will be developing. The development will be a large family development offering 48, I think you can go to the next slide, Markie. Offering 48 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, all affordable to households at or below 60% of median income. We are attempting to also include a share of the units for special needs households, including developmentally disabled households and survivors of domestic violence at or less than 30% of median income. The building is 6 stories above ground with 1 level of underground parking. Although not required to do so under affordable housing ordinances, we have chosen to include 47 parking spaces so that the development does not impose more cars on existing street and neighborhood parking. We've included open space in the side yards, in a courtyard on the second floor, and a roof deck on the 6th floor. And amenities will include 2 recreation rooms, one of which will open onto the 2nd floor courtyard, office space for management, service providers, and counseling as needed, a tot lot, community gardening plots, seating areas, a dog run, and landscaping in the courtyard and decks, as well as the front yard, north side yard, and rear yard. We will be upgrading the sidewalk and curb cuts on South Avenue 24 and adding street trees. We will also be widening the alley by 3 feet and repaving it. All of the units, you can move to the next slide. All of the units will be affordable at to families at or below 60% of median income, with rents as shown in this slide. We will, as I mentioned, we will also be attempting to include some units affordable at 30% of median, or half of what you see there. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Marky to talk about the land use and zoning.
Sure. So the primary address for the project, like Mary Jane noted, is 216 Avenue 24. The existing zoning for the site is PF-1-CDO. The Lincoln Heights CDO is the community design overlay, and it is actually only applicable to properties that are commercially zoned. However, when we did this project, we were mindful of the CDO standards and actually included a compliance table in the findings that we attach with our entitlement application. So the land use designation is public facilities as well. The existing use, as Mary Jane noted, is for a public parking lot for LEDOT, who is the former landowner, and the site size is just under half an acre. So as you can see in the image from the city's ZEMA system, which is their sort of zoning and land use online system, it comprised of the 4 lots here with remaining DOT parking at the south end of the site.
Thank you, Marky. So the community indicated, among other things, that it was concerned about environmental impact, and we have designed the project to be all electric with solar PV panels on the roof, enabling us to lower utility costs for the residents and to minimize our carbon footprint. In addition, we're using water efficient fixtures and drought tolerant landscaping, energy efficient appliances and lighting, as well as healthy materials for indoor air quality. Next slide. Here is a rendering, sort of what the building will look like from the South Avenue 24 vantage point. It's Spanish style as preferred by the community. And I think the architects have done a really great job of creating varied massing and articulation of the facades so that it almost has the feeling of a village. I'll move quickly through the floor plans just to give you a feel. So first is the parking level below ground. Many of those parking spaces will be prepared for EV charging. Next slide. The first floor with more automobile as well as parking for bicycles in the back half, and a recreation room and office space at the front of the building on Avenue 24. Next, the second floor with units in a C shape around a central courtyard that opens to the south. You can see the recreation room on the west side of the courtyard opening onto the courtyard. Then the 3rd, 4th, and 5th and 6th floors. The 6th floor features a roof deck. You can see it on the right side of where the open area to the community courtyard is. Which will include outdoor seating for adults and teenagers. The next 2 slides show the elevation from all 4 sides. So the top one is the north, from the north, which is on the alley. The next one is the south elevation, which is next to the Bank of America parking lot below. The next ones are the east elevation, which is facing the currently what is a recycling facility and some parking off of Daly. And then the last one is the west elevation, which is the street level elevation at South Avenue 24. So you can see that the articulation of the facades is really, it makes the building feel like a village. And it shows how the building steps back at the 5th and 6th floors so that it feels like a 4- and 5-story building from the street. I'm going to ask Marky to talk again about the entitlement process. We just recently submitted our entitlement request to the city. Go for it, Marky.
Sure. So we have applied for the transit-oriented communities program utilizing Tier 4 incentives. So there was an increase in density allowed as part of the program. Like Mary Jane noted, we are actually not required to provide any parking as part of an affordable housing development on site, but the project is electing to provide 47 spaces. There are 2 side and front yard reductions of 35%. There is an increase in height. We're allowed up to 33 feet and are only taking 27 approximately. And then finally, the TOC program allows a joint public-private development in the PF zone. So the project is taking from R3 development standards, which are the properties across the street. Like I mentioned, the CDO really does not apply to properties that are non-commercial, but we have project permit compliance for the CDO as part of our requests. And then the project is statutorily exempt from CEQA. So there is an affordable housing statutory exemption as part of the project. And so that is the second case number from the agenda from this week. There was the first number, which starts with DIR for director. So that is the approval for the TOC entitlement. And then the ENV number is the one that gets generated as part of just having an EAF with the project, which is related to the statutory exemption as required.
Thank you, Marky.
Yep.
So in closing, we hope that the Land Use Committee will recommend support for this high priority 100% affordable housing development to the board at tomorrow night's meeting. We would highly value community support, and your recommendation would be meaningful to us. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Jane and Marky. Thank you so much. All right. So we're going to open it up for, I guess, board members, right? Board members, do you have any?
We can do public first.
The public. So if anybody from the public has a question for Marky or Mary Jane, or if you want to make a statement or speak on this item, please raise your hand or press *9. We have 2 minutes.
We have one hand up. AJ, you have 2 minutes to comment.
I feel like I'm about to have like a heart attack right now. My heart is beating so fast. This is such a crock of shit. Before you even said it was a TOC, I knew it was a TOC. Like, you guys are lighting the fire under my ass to start a referendum on the TOC. I don't understand how you can live with yourselves, and you're a woman-owned business. What? So you get grants and stuff like shelled to you before other people? This is you should be super happy that we're like actually giving parking spaces, and like we have like an architect that like made it like a pueblo, and it's totally no. You know what you should do is you should help support the housing that is already available to people that live in Lincoln Heights. You don't need to make more housing for other people that don't live here. What is wrong with you people? On public property, on city-owned property? How do you feel good about yourselves? Like, how do you, like, the almighty dollar, right? Like, this is just, I'm disgusted with you guys. I'm starting a referendum on the TOCs, and fuck you guys. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Fuck your fucking project. Fuck you. And I'm done.
Okay. Thank you, AJ, for your comment. We're gonna, anybody from the public, any other community members have a question for Mary Jane or Marquis, please raise your hand or press *9 about this project. 216 South Avenue 4.
Next, we have Roy Payan. You have 2 minutes to comment.
Hi, Roy. Okay. Maybe we'll come back to Roy.
Right. Next, we have Robert Vega.
Yes, this project isn't new. It was on the table a couple years ago. You guys are new to this project, but it's not just one project that was brought up. There was 5 of them that were supposed to be built here in Lincoln Heights. I'm just curious why just this one now. That's my question.
Marquis and Mary Jane, you can reply to. Or,
Absolutely. We've been working with the city to figure out how to provide full replacement parking for all of the 5 lots that were originally part of the exclusive right to negotiate that we have. So far, we have not found sources of funding that can support the building of the replacement of parking. So we have chosen to move forward with just one project affecting only one of the parking lots to really make sure that we can provide affordable housing to the community, which I know is really important. There's so many folks who are being, gentrified out of the neighborhood, and we want to make sure that people of modest means can continue to live there. So we have pursued this project, but at the same time, we're also looking at how we can work with the city to make sure that we can look at some of the other lots and provide replacement parking for those lots with creative and new funding that we have not yet identified, but we're going to work with the city to try to make sure that happens.
Am I still heard? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes.
Hear you.
Okay, another question. You mentioned that Avenue 26 was another project. I remember when they built the Avenue 26 project that they had seniors go in there, and most of them were from Sacred Heart Parish. A year later, they threw them all out because the rent went up. I think the building was sold to someone else.
No, the building has been in the same ownership. I'm not sure. I don't know the circumstances that you're describing. It is a senior project, and
yes,
perhaps the people from Sacred Heart Church were able to enter usually when you develop a new affordable housing project, there is a lottery that is established to identify the initial residents. I don't know what happened in that case, and I will find out if you would like to know.
Sure.
And I can just jump in on this project specifically, that one of the requirements of utilizing affordable housing programs within the city and actually within the state of California is that all of the units have to enter into a 55-year covenant, which restricts the affordability levels to that which Mary Jane discussed as part of the project. So I can't speak to the other one, but I just wanted to highlight that because that's a big part of the process and the requirement.
The same was true of the senior housing development, so I'm not sure what happened there. I will find out though for you.
Another question is, when they did build these units, or when they were trying to build them, they were saying it was for the community, but the community is the whole country. And it's not, when they're telling us that Lincoln Heights, we need housing for the people in Lincoln Heights, but these aren't set for just Lincoln Heights because we have to go through some sort of lottery and anybody can enter it. So what we're doing is we're bringing more people into our community, you're saturating our community. And I would prefer our community stay the way it is without saturating it with other people coming in.
I hear you, Robert. That is an issue that we are negotiating with or advocating with the housing requirements about. But the way that affordable housing works right now is for general affordable housing units, we have to open a lottery. We accept anybody who makes an application, and then we use the lottery system to select those that come in. Actually, if we are able, which we hope we will be able to include a significant number of developmentally disabled and survivors of domestic violence, we have more latitude to make sure that people who are developmentally disabled need to live close to their families. So the agencies that refer to us want to make sure they're living, close to their families. So it would much more likely be people who are from Lincoln Heights. And the same is true in the case of survivors of domestic violence. So we're hoping to be able to make use of those two programs to make sure that we can really be serving community residents, but otherwise the fair housing regulations require that we accept applications from whoever finds out about the project and applies during a limited time for application, and then we have to do lottery. Those are the community requirements, the government requirements for how we have to manage applications to the project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jake Pierce.
Yes, hello, my name is Jake Pierce. I live on the east side, not too far away from this project. And I wanted to thank the developers Works for bringing forward this this project. I guess a couple of things that come to mind. I was at talking to some housing advocates last night, including a woman. I've been talking to a lot of people who work at the Children's Hospital in Hollywood, and they're always dealing with people, whether they live in Lincoln Heights or a different community. Their number one concern is affordable housing, and it affects everything they do. So many families are on the verge of homelessness. So many families are struggling to
I think our caller got disconnected. We're going to move on with board comments and questions. Please raise your hand if you have any comments. I see Vincent.
Thank you, Fernanda. I think we all agree we need housing and low-income housing. One of the problems with the project is, and always has been a problem, is the PPP, the public-private partnership. That worries me. As the presenter noted, that they would own that concession of it, which is the money-making part of it. While the rents are subsidized rents, there's still money to be made in those situations. And so another failing part of what they're repeating, which is going to have the same outcome as the 30-year covenant. So we have a 55-year covenant. You're now kicking down 2 more generations to our kids. And it's really the definition of insanity thinking that any of these projects are going to work. The 30-year covenants are coming up, and we're going to lose many of our affordable, at the time was a good idea. And now we're realizing that it was one of the worst ideas. And what did the city do? It came up to extend it to 55 years. And then it included now the nonprofits with TOC, which then they can trigger it by giving a simple loophole by putting 100% affordability to get these big buildings to come up. But in 55 years, this nonprofit will end up owning the building on there, and it'll become an asset to them. And we will be right back in the same situation we were, which is now, if anybody's familiar with the fight in Chinatown, that building is owned and then on city property, and now they're throwing the people out. So I am completely 100% opposed, even though I know that 100% of the low-income housing is needed, but it should be public housing. This fight was already done in 1959. It's how they destroyed the 3 communities of Palo Verde, La Loma, and Bishop. The city didn't help us then. It's not going to help us now. And private corporations, whether nonprofits or not, they're out for the mighty dollar. I would like to know, and I'll research it for the general meeting to bring it up, on how much the executive committees are paying themselves in these nonprofits. Usually they're up into the 6 figures, and they end up getting put on the list of the poverty pimp list. And that's my comment.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
So Vincent, I completely appreciate your point of view. I too am concerned that the housing that's being built today will not last into the future. But I can assure you that Works is an organization that cares that our housing will remain sustainable, not just for the 55 years, which is actually a requirement of the tax credit allocation committee of the state. So we have to agree to that because of the state. But we would like it to remain affordable for 100 years or 200 years or for the life of the project. That's our motivation. And we will work with you to make sure that these projects stay affordable for the long term. We are a nonprofit, women-led, women and minority-led nonprofit organization. We do receive a developer fee from the development of the projects, but that's what we need to keep going as an organization and to continue to develop housing. I think you'll find that in all of the projects that we've been involved in developing, and there are 26 over the past 2 decades, they all remain affordable. They have all, been thoughtful about making sure that we don't raise rents until it's possible for residents to pay those rents and according to, government programs. And we care about our developments. We invest in services to make sure that families have what they need to continue to succeed. This is our mission. We're not in it for the money, as you say. We are in it to make sure that we can make a difference to residents and communities. You can look at our website. I'll tell you what it is, www.worksusa.org. And I hope, and if you'd like to talk more, I'm very happy to talk to you, but we really care about families and communities, and we are not in it for the money. We're in it for making sure that we can make a benefit to the communities we serve. Thanks for your comments though, Vincent.
Thank you, Mary. Next we have Melanie.
Thanks, Mary and Marquis, for your presentation. I feel like extremely torn here. Anytime we have a development and a representative for that development come to our meetings, I always say, like, we don't want 20% affordable. We want 100% affordable. That's what we need, here in Lincoln Heights. And so, to have you guys come in and say that it is not just 100% affordable, but 100% affordable for, very low income or extremely low income, really is just like all I ever want to hear. And then at the same time, and I'm sure you guys know this, kind of have to understand that, like, we are also a community that has just been torn apart by TOCs, not just like the damage that they do to our community, but like truly the violence that they've done to our community. So anytime there's a TOC or there is a covenant involved, that's such like a trigger for us. So I'm so torn. I do believe, and I would like to believe that, you know, your intentions are in the right place. And I appreciate what Chente said regarding, you know, would need to be public housing to have that kind of safety. But then I also think about William Mead and what they're going through right now. And that is public housing. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know where to go with this, but I did want to say it's heartening to finally have, after a year of being on this committee, like a development that is 100% affordable. There are just these other things that make me very gun shy, just because of our history and the history of this community. But thank you for being here.
Is there anything I can say to you, Melanie, that would, or any answers I can give you that would reassure you that we're for real? We are for real.
You know, I don't doubt that. And I hope I'm okay to talk, to go back and forth. This will be the last thing I say. I don't doubt that you guys are for real. But it's not you guys. It's like what happens when you guys aren't there necessarily, or like into perpetuity. Like, you know, I'm not just thinking about the community now. I'm thinking about the community forever as everything gets harder and less affordable. And, you know, the world starts like burning up, like, you know, all of that is going through my mind. And like, what can we do to make sure that these residents and their generations of families are taken care of in this, you know, in this community you guys have made. Anyhow, no, you've done a great job presenting tonight. It's just more our history in this community specifically, and like what Chente brought up with Bishop and La Loma and Palo Verde, and just the way we've just been obliterated so many times. And I don't mean me, I mean we, the community.
Yeah, I completely understand. And I think it's worth becoming part of an advocacy group to promote ownership by the public. Maybe, you know, there are movements to make land trusts or community land trusts where the properties would go into a community organized land trust that would live in perpetuity. We would be delighted to develop this project and then transfer it to a community land trust, because we share with you the objective to make sure that these properties are affordable and in good shape and well taken care of in perpetuity. So if we can collaborate on that, we would be delighted.
Thank you. I also have a comment. I want to elaborate a little bit more on what Melanie said, especially for our attendees that might not be aware or fully understand what covenants are. I'm struggling here too, because I believe that we desperately do need affordable housing for extremely low income tenants. But I have a serious concern about the covenants in place. I want to allude back to the comment that Mr. Vega said about seniors from a previous project that you have had who had their rents raised and later displaced. That's exactly what's happening in a lot of these so-called affordable housing units. We just had that happen to Mission Villa, which is another 100% affordable housing unit just like this one. And so what happens when those covenants expire, their rents could be raised however much they want. They aren't protected by the California Assembly bill that Gavin Newsom passed in 2020 about rent increases. And there's no one to mitigate this. Everyone that they turned to said, you know, you aren't protected. They can do whatever they want. The covenants have expired. And these tenants had their rents raised over $500 from one month to the next. And so I guess my concern is more of the systemic part of this, how these short-term covenants don't protect us for forever. 55 years is not long enough. And once that covenant does expire, these tenants are faced with the realities of displacement, of huge rent increases and really not having any sources to go to and anyone really respond or mitigate the serious issue at hand. We have a lot of tenants that are facing exactly that right now in Lincoln Heights. And so for me, I do agree. We need public owned housing. We need a community land trust. And so, you know, in all, I agree. We need 100% affordable housing. It's just that these covenants in place, I believe, are very insidious because I've seen the firsthand effects it has on tenants once they do expire. So thank you for your presentation. And I'm going to move on to the next comment. And that's Sarah.
Can I comment on that, Fernanda?
Yeah.
So I would just say to you that Camino al Oro, which is the senior housing development on Avenue 26, that covenant is in place until 2060. So they could not have been raising rents above the amounts that were approved by HUD and by the city. This development will also be restricted for 55 years. So that will actually end in, let's see, this is 2000, we're in 2022. It will open because this whole process takes a long time in 2027. So that will be 2082, the covenants will come off in theory. But like you, we would like to see these developments permanently, restricted. That's our objective as an organization. And if we see an opportunity to contribute these properties to a land trust that will keep them in perpetuity, that would be great. Also, the other thing you should know is that this particular development will be a ground lease from the city of LA for 99 years. And so there is an opportunity to make sure that at least for that 99 years, the development remains affordable. But we're on your side. We agree with you. That's our objective.
Thank you, Mary. Next, we have Sarah.
Hi, I just have a couple things I want to say. Yeah, so Lincoln Heights is part of the original Pueblo since 1769. And outside of the Pueblo, those areas were annexed mainly between 1890 and 1930, right? And the city expanded huge. But we have so much city-owned land in Lincoln Heights just because, we had all the jail, all the basic municipal functions were here. And then we had an industrial corridor. So we have a lot of lands now with post-industrial America, factories closed down, upzoning for condos, all that stuff. So we have the city land. And one of the things is, we have a lot of city land where this could go. It could go where the jail is in the cask in the Cornfield Arroyo specific plan. But I don't know if the plan has space for something like this. TOC allows public-private development in the PF zone. It allows, basically, the city lands all going into these sort of public-private partnerships. And it's bringing in, basically, it's like the people of Lincoln Heights need housing. We need housing. People are getting pushed out, push. And so it's like the housing goes in and they say, oh, it's for the community. Lincoln Heights needs housing. We're making it for you. But then it's a lottery and nobody gets a spot in place. There's no way to get priority on it. I mean, maybe there is a little wiggle room or something, but then we're having people coming in, influx of people for this needed housing, but our infrastructure is totally from the 1800s. The sewers don't even work. And it's like our lifelong residents born here, 70 years old, are living in a ditch by the side of Lincoln Park, and it's it just keeps going. And we basically, when they build a lot of these affordable housing things like the Brine, they tear down a city block of residential homes for it. And so these lots, these actual city lots, these 5 lots, I went through all the property history reports. And so they were demolished. It was a system of, part of the urban renewal, right? And that kind of stuff, the different phases they had, right? So in the 60s, they went and they tore down all the apartment. Basically, there were like 5 family houses, like apartment buildings, right? They tore down like probably 20, like 30 units or something for these parking lots, 65. And now they're zoned PF, city lots, public facilities. And the PF's just kind of getting taken away. We're seeing like the city's kind of making concessions to like a bar that wants to open in a PF place. What am I saying? We just need priority for our residents here in Lincoln Heights, our lifelong residents. And also we need clarity on like affordable housing, right? You said 60% of the AMI. Well, that's between very low and low income. Low income for one person is $58,000 a year income. Our community makes, we're like extremely low income, $30,000 or $21,000. That's the thing. Yeah, I don't know. And also I'm worried about like the manager unit at the top. It has this big manager kind of penthouse on the southern side that is, this is 6 stories tall. It basically looks south down to Manitou into the backyards of all the little tiny houses are there. It's kind of weird. So it has a rooftop patio and basically a perch that overlooks, like, it's a kind of a privacy thing. I'm just worried about that. Is there any way, like, how do we get priority for our community on something like this? Like, is it possible?
So can I respond, Sarah?
Yeah, now I'm done on my little.
Okay, well, we also, like you, are advocating for something that allows some priority for local residents to become, to be selected in a priority basis for affordable housing units. But that is not the current fair housing law. It's not the current, requirement, but there is a move. There is a move among housing developers and with the city to try to make that happen. It would be great to have you involved in that advocacy effort. We would welcome your support in doing that. This property will not be open until 2027, or late 2026. So we have some time to make that kind of thing happen. And I think we would love to have your support for making that happen. In the case of the special needs units, particularly those with who will be involving developmentally disabled adults, that is kind of built into the program, because the developmentally disabled adults need to be close to their families. And so the likelihood that they will be from the Lincoln Heights community or very nearby is high. But for the regular affordable housing, it's part of, it's part of a larger district that includes Lincoln Heights, but there's no preference today for Lincoln Heights. But if we can, we would like to make that happen. That's something that we've been advocating for. And I'd love to have you involved in advocating with us, because I think it makes sense on so many fronts. It's not just that, you want it as a community. It's also that for people who already have ties in the community, it makes sense for them to be able to continue to live there. So we're with you on that priority. But so at this moment, it's not available as an option. But help us make that case.
Yeah, well, there's 2,200 parcels above Rose Hill public housing that were, they were supposed to be the Rose Hill Extension Project in 1952, and it was shut down by protesters who didn't want poor people up there. And so
Yeah.
now it's still government-owned land and it's a park. So there's a lot of land there for housing that they're not using.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate about that history. But you know, that's a lot. Thank
Let
you.
me also respond to your comment about the manager's unit. These projects need strong and experienced property managers to make sure that everything works well in the development. So anything we can do to make sure that the property manager's unit has some extra amenities is valuable. That's why we've done that. Just so you know.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Any other board member discussion on this?
Yes, I see Vincent's hand up. I'm not sure if it's recently raised or if it's from last time.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a really just quick, it's just hard when you look at the covenants, and I understand that they may come with good intentions. Until those covenants change, until the city becomes responsible, we're right back in the same thing. And like Melanie was saying, into the future, we wish in perpetuity. Well, William Mead has its issues. The money that they're spending on some of the housing now can better it. We understand what went wrong in the old project. But what I can tell you for sure is that William Mead has stood its ground when developers have tried to take it, are currently trying to take these properties. And because of the way it was written to the policy, both through the city, the Fed, and the county, it has been very difficult. And that's why, in my opinion, it must always remain within the public's hands. The private hand causes a lot of problems with nonprofits. A lot of nonprofits have said the same thing that Work has said now. And unfortunately, working with them, they fall into it, money, or they leave the board of directors, and we have a different, just like politics, you get a new person in, you don't know what they're going to do. Everything changes with board of directors. They're corporations. 501c3s are corporations. They work no different than a corporation does. And so that's why I always say that we need to have it in perpetuity with the city so that we have some type of security of real housing. If not, we're doomed to repeat history. And I don't think at this point, looking at all that we're going to be facing when the moratorium is lifted, that this city is going to be able to uphold again on housing. And we already see that the rents are skyrocketing. This is a 6-figure city now. What people are making today, they're already outbidded, and they are not even in the realm of even getting a home now. They will never be homeowners. And that's a tragedy for a city as rich as the city of Los Angeles with the history, but it also has that grim history of taking land away from homeowners and turning them into renters. That has to stop at some point. And that's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Completely agree with you, Vincent. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. Next, we have Mel.
I'll make this quick. I know we're running long, and I'll email you about this, Mary. But I might be worth considering building in like a tenants union just to power balance with the people that live there and give them some kind of say over what happens in the future, like just built into the structure. I don't know if a tenants union is even allowed to be formed that way, but it's something to consider. That's it. But like I said, I can email you. We could talk about that more.
Great. I'd love to talk to you about it. We really promote resident self-determination, and we always have resident groups that help to inform what we do. So I'd love to talk to you about that further.
Thank you. We have no other board members' hand raised. Is there a motion that's going to be presented?
Does anybody want to move on the item?
I'd like to make a motion. This is Vincent. To oppose the project as written.
Is there a second? Going once. Going twice. Benny, was that a second?
I think someone beat me to the punch there.
You got it. No, that's you, Benny. You seconded.
Okay, I'll second.
All right. Any last board discussion? Melanie, I see your hand up again. All right. Vincent, do you have your hand up again?
No, sorry about that.
Great, I'll move on to public. I have Jake Pierce.
Yeah, I think my call dropped out, and I didn't realize until it was too late. But I just wanted to say that thank you for the hardworking women who have worked so hard on this project to bring it forward. I think about people I know who've experienced homelessness, whether it's in the Lincoln Heights area or other communities. I live in an area not too far from Lincoln Heights, and I on the east side, and people are really struggling, whether they're making less than $60,000 a year or less than $30,000 a year. People are really struggling, and I would love for there to be like a local preference, so that people from Lincoln Heights could move into this project, but that isn't the way the laws work in this space. And I think that low-income people, poor people, working people from other neighborhoods, I think that they deserve to live with the people who live in the community too here, the people from Lincoln Heights who would be able to move into this project. And then on the 55-year covenant thing, there are things we can do. We can make it so we can reform the state laws to make sure that these covenants are permanent. I would be radically in support of that. We can talk in the coming days, coming weeks, about how to craft state laws that do that. But in the meantime, it would make me really sad if we punished low-income people for 55 years, who just because we're worried about what's going to happen in 5 decades. And I think about all the families we would be able to help. So yeah, those were my comments on that previous item. I didn't realize I was disconnected, but I raised my hand as soon as I realized. So that's what I had to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Robert Vega.
I'm sorry, I think I had my hand up by mistake, but thank you for the presentation, and look forward to hearing from everyone else tomorrow.
Thank you, Robert. And lastly, we have AJ.
I'm gonna just mention the code of, what is it, code of conduct or civility, right? Just be courteous and respectful, no crude language, I guess. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. They put their hand down. I'm not sure if.
Okay. Well,
Right, so no more hands raised.
Can I
We're
just
gonna.
say,
Oh,
can I just say thank you to you all for thinking about this and for your deep consideration and for your commitment to making sure that the community works for lower income families and the Lincoln Heights community neighborhood. We support that, and I hope you will support this development for the 55-year period that we're going to be under development, and we will work with you to make it affordable for forever. That's what we'd like. Thank you.
thank you, Mary. And we have AJ raising their hand.
Sorry about my emotions before. It's just very anyways. Anyways, Mary, if you are interested in a land trust, I'd like to ask why you just don't do a land trust, I guess is my question. If you're so very concerned, and that's what is you know, you have a lot of people that are phony and they'll say whatever to your face, right? So that they can get what they want. And that's how a lot of developers are, and most of them, and coming into this neighborhood, right? So like, I don't understand why you're saying you wish it could be a land trust, because it could be a land trust. So I don't like.
Mary Jane, I can take that from a planning perspective, just so AJ, the property is city owned at the moment, so the only way to develop the property is through some type of planning and
It's totally fine. She didn't answer and she moved away from camera. That's all I need. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your guys' time. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, AJ.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands raised. I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with a vote. Motion on the table is to oppose the project. Sarah? And just to clarify, a yes vote would be to oppose, a no vote would be not to oppose. All right, Sarah?
Yes.
Benny?
Yes.
Melanie?
No.
Nancy?
Yes.
Chente?
Yes.
Fernanda, I am abstaining. Richard is not here. Mr. Adams is not here. That's 4 yeses, 1 no, 1 abstention. Motion carries.
Thank you. We will be in touch with you all.
Thank you, Mary, for your presentation and for your time.
So yeah, this is just the recommendation from the Planning and Land Use Committee. So tomorrow will be the general board meeting and the whole entire council will vote. So yeah, the community, yeah, it's time. There's just not much time, right?
Of course.
Feedback from the community. It's like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
So much, Mary Jane and Marky. All right. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next item here. We're gonna kind of go through these. So I don't have a letter written for either of these, but right now, the agenda. So the first one is so there are 2 pending demolition permits right now. So yeah, people are buying single family homes and multifamily properties in Lincoln Heights and immediately applying for demolition permits for multifamily units, high density buildings or whatever. So we have the house that has been on fire 7 times at 2659 Pasadena Avenue, the historic house. There's an application for demolition. It was newly submitted. There's a new owner now, submitted it recently, and there was an abate order on the property since April 2020. That owner sold the property, I guess cleaned his hands of the abate order, and so now there's an expedited demolition permit, and it's because of the abate order and all the fires. So once the demolition permit is issued, they have 30 days to tear it down. The house was built in 1890, and it was in 2015 identified as by the Department of Historic Resources as potentially eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. And the community watched it slowly just get destroyed. So this is a letter to the city. I'm moving to write a letter of opposition for the newest demolition permit for 2659 and for the restaurant out front too. He has permits for both. So that's the item. public comment on 2659 Pasadena. That's the house to the right of Boys and Girls Club. Now, please raise your hand or press *9.
We have AJ, you have 2 minutes to comment.
I love that house. I love that house, and seeing what has happened to it has been just a travesty, and it's disgusting to me that like anybody would not want to just rebuild it up. And yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I oppose the demolition, and if we need to like start a GoFundMe and start getting community attention to try and like buy out the people and save the property, then let's do it. I don't know. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I love that property. It's beautiful, and it should have been a historic monument. Anyways, that's all. This meeting is
All right, thank you.
really,
AJ.
yeah. I'm sorry. I know. I was so emotional. I'm sorry. So irritated.
For your comments. Any other members from the public want to talk, comment on the demolition permit for 2659 Pasadena Avenue, the historic 1890s home next to the Boys and Girls Club that went on fire 7 times? Please raise your hand or press *9.
I don't see any other hands raised.
Board members?
Just a question, Madam Chair, would you be able to put up a picture of it?
Yeah, I'll pull up.
We can see it.
1 second.
Let me see if I can pull
Yeah,
it.
you'll freak out. I have many pictures. Pasadena Ave. This is we've already written one letter after it went on fire like the 5th time, and the neighbors' houses burnt down and they became homeless during the pandemic. Pasadena Ave. Oh my gosh, I have too many files.
The supporting docs folder is empty.
Yeah, I don't have photos in there. Here, I have a photo right here. 1 second. Okay. And I need the most recent picture of it burned down. It's really in bad shape right now. Well, okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen right now. Sorry. All right, share screen. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Where's the other one? Okay, sure. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so can you see these 3 images or 2 or whatever? So this is the house. Now it was purchased in 2017 by a developer, and he evicted the family who had been there for 30 years. And then he just left it open to the elements unsecured. And so by April 2020, on April 1st, 2020, somebody went in and gutted the whole place and took all the historic interior, all of the metalwork, all the banisters, all the molding, everything from the barn. And then later, yeah, so it just kept sitting open, and then fire after fire happened. Somebody burned the barn down the first time, and it burnt down the neighbors' houses, their little bungalows, and they almost died. Said he put an abate order on it, and the person still never secured the property for the next 2 years. Fire after fire happened. So this is like the 4th fire. And so the most recent fires totally, now that there's been 1 fire after this one, believe it or not. And it's horrible. It's like a carcass. It's even more destroyed now and charred, but it's still good. It was built and lived in by George C. Johnson, owner of Johnson brass and foundry works in Dogtown. His foundry was dynamited by the McNamara brothers in 1910 on Christmas Day, the same guys who bombed the LA Times building with a dynamite in the steelworkers strike. So he was like he lived and worked in Lincoln Heights on the river, right here the whole time. And his foundry made like the original locomotives for Abbott Kinney and Lincoln Park and just all this. They were next to Llewellyn Ironworks, right? So just this house was in perfect condition in 2017, and we've just watched it just get utterly annihilated, and the city will not do anything. And now they want to tear it down. So that's the story. It's been a struggle. That's it. Sorry.
Thank you. Lincoln Heights is the oldest suburb, and we have some of the oldest buildings in all of LA. And it's really hard to see these beautiful buildings be burnt down time after time, and flipped and demolished. I think there's big importance in preserving our historical spaces. Thank you for all the photo documentation you just showed us, Sarah. We have
but there are laws on the books that the city can employ that they don't. One is scorched earth ordinance. It is a penalty for developers who illegally destroy, even demolition by neglect, destroy properties without demolition permits. And the only one was ever enacted on the Jeff Palmer Orsini guy. The city doesn't enact it because of their fear of litigation, but it would put a 5-year moratorium on the property where they can't build for 5 years, and they get a fine of like $10,000. But demolition by neglect, it's like we're watching it in Lincoln Heights, like it's just crazy. And that's Nancy.
Hi. This is so incredibly heartbreaking. Also, I just wanted to remind everyone that there's a preschool just to the right of that. That's the preschool I went to, and I remember you would share the backyard. There was just a chain link fence. So for the last few years, this is what children are staring at. Children and their families. This is the view that they have. That's so incredibly disrespectful to our community.
Mm-hmm.
And also, oh gosh, thank you.
Any community members want to weigh in on the thing again? Community members, if you want to raise your hand or press *9. No?
I see no other hands raised.
So we're going to move on. So we have a second on the letter, right? Or on
the motion hasn't been stated. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I stated it in the beginning. So it's a motion to oppose the demolition permits with filed with LADBS, and then also there's the abate order with the code enforcement and the city attorney. So
got it. Is there a second to that? Anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Melanie seconds. Any last board discussion on this? Any public comment? I don't see any hands raised. So motion.
I want people to be held accountable for doing illegal things like this in our community, because this wouldn't fly in another community, right? We've watched for the past 2 years. And we've made the community has made over 20 complaints to the city, and people have almost died in their sleep, and children at the Boys and Girls Club and the daycare next door had their lives at risk, and the guy can't even put a fence around it. And if it was occupied the whole time, that would have been fine, but no. So yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
We're going to go for a vote, I guess.
All right, so motion is to oppose the abate orders and the demolition, seconded by Melanie. Moving to a vote, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm not opposing the abate order, we're just opposing the demo permit. So Yes,
My apologies.
that's okay.
All right, so motion is to oppose the demolition. Sarah,
Yes,
Benny,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Fernanda, yes. Vincent is not here. He did message that his phone was about to die. Richard is not here and Mr. Adams is not here. But that's still 5 unanimous yeses. We do have quorum, motion carries.
the motion carries. Thank you, guys. So I'm pulling up an image here. So we have one more demolition item. So this is for 231, right? 231 South Avenue 18. 231 South Avenue 18. It's a house next to Downey Park, directly to the east of Downey Park. And it has two addresses, 231.5 is the other address. So it's just the permit description: building, demolition, single family dwelling, demolish one story single family dwelling, clear lot. The house was built in 1885. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, 2,066 square feet with a big backyard that goes up to the park with a fence. Again, it was purchased by just recently and they immediately applied for demolition permits. So I just kind of want to pull up the house here. Just so everybody knows which house it is. Let's see here. I'm going to just share my screen. You see that? So this is the house. So it's next to that little the daycare school on Avenue 18. And yeah, so 1885. And the person kind of fixed it up before they sold it somewhat. And so yeah, the way we found out was there was just a blue sign taped on the fence, and it had been there for a while until anybody noticed. How was the park? So it is this house. Oh, yeah. So this house, so it has a big backyard. I don't know what's in there, but it's a big old property, and you know, they haven't put an application for new construction in, but the issue is that this is in the Cornfield Arroyo specific plan. And right now, for instance, people are just buying houses and tearing them down. So like on the other side of the park on Albion, there are 2 houses from like 1880 that have been sitting gated up and boarded up right here. These two guys since 2017, and he's waiting. He wants to build some things there too. So anyway, it's just becoming an issue when these parks end up being like the thing that, you know, becomes an amenity that is desirable, and the people yeah, for the people, and then it's not for the people anymore. So yeah, the motion to oppose the demolition permits, that's a motion for 231 South Avenue 18. Any public comment on this item?
1 second, we have a motion to oppose. Is there a second? I'll second. Moving on to public comment.
Anybody from the public, please raise your hand or press *9.
We have no hands raised.
Okay,
Any
sorry, any board members?
We have Benny.
Yeah, no, I'm just, it's just sad that there's not more protection, you know, for these homes. I mean, just the fact that they were built in the 1800s, to me, is enough to save these homes. The fact that this one is attached to another historical location like Downey Park, just makes me even want to save it even more. I mean, it's just, I don't know, I'm just having a hard time understanding how these beautiful structures, you know, don't have the protection that they deserve.
Thank you, Benny.
Right, any other board member comments? I don't see any hands raised. I'm gonna go ahead and move it for a vote. Motion is to oppose the demolition. Sarah,
Yes.
Benny,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Fernanda, yes. Vincent is not here. Richard is not here. Mr. Adams is not here. That's still 5 unanimous yeses. Motion carries.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. So all of these actions that we took today, they're recommendations for tomorrow's general pool, which is Thursday, November 17th at 6 p.m. And we have the link lhnc.carrd.co. That's or our website. That's where you can find the agenda.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the attendees that have been here for the entire meeting. I'm going to present the motion to adjourn the meeting.
One second,
All
we have
those-
a couple more items here. So
Oh, we do?
just-
My
I wanna say
apologies.
vacancies, right? So we have seats for the community to be on the planning and land use committee. Okay, so I think we have like, 4 or 5 slots. So if anybody from the community wants to be on the committee, we have about 1 meeting, usually every month, 2 hours. And you have voting power if you join the committee. And yeah, and that's the thing. And then future items, or is there anybody from the community who has a future item they want us to consider on next month's agenda? Please raise your hand and press star 9.
We have 2 hands raised. Robert Vega.
Oh, I was trying to mention that these houses, that how do you protect them? Is there any way you can extend the HPOZ to protect these homes?
Well, when they made the HPOZ boundaries, I think Ed Reyes did it in a while ago, I guess 10 years ago or 12 years ago or whatever. They intentionally avoid all the areas they were planning on developing, right? Like the Cornfield Arroyo specific plan or down at the USC Biotech or whatever. So our most historic areas are actually totally unprotected. And we have a sort of this, down near Broadway, there's like a big square, which isn't, and then it avoids Broadway as well because of the CDO. So for instance, that house that burnt down 10 times, it's strange because the HPOZ just goes around it in a really, like they had plans for it. And that's what we're seeing over on Albion. And even when it has the HPOZ thing, they can do whatever they want with the inside. And they can even tear it down still. So it's just, we need a historic preservation group in our community if we want to really get stuff done. Otherwise, those are the oldest houses in the city of LA over at Albion, or, yeah, Clover, Albion, that whole area.
Thank you, Sarah. Are there any other future items from the community side? I don't see any other hands raised. Anything from the board members? I don't see any hands raised. Next item on the agenda is adjournment. So I motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, speak now. There are no oppositions. Meeting officially ends at 9:01 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for attending the entire meeting and staying involved in your community. So we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.